Have you ever tried to lose weight? Do you often find yourself losing weight only to gain it back? Do you find yourself trying one diet after another? Or do you know someone that can seemingly eat whatever they want and not gain weight? Hello, my name is Coach Strick, host of the Calorie Conundrum Podcast, and I am that guy.
Welcome to the Calorie Conundrum Podcast with Coach Strick. Join us as we expand the weight loss conversation to beyond just calories and dare to ask the question, why does eating less and exercising more sometimes not produce the desired results? Here's Coach Strick to discuss this Calorie Conundrum.
Welcome to the first episode of the Calorie Conundrum Podcast. This is Coach Strick, and I'm the guy that can seemingly eat whatever I want and not gain weight. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you how the guy that can eat anything and not gain weight started a podcast about weight loss called the Calorie Conundrum. But just know this podcast has been weighing on me. It's been eating at me, and it's been a long time coming. My story with fitness started while I was in the military. It was during my time in the military that I realized that one of the only things I liked about the military was the physical training aspect. There was just something about going for a 3-mile run and doing some pull-ups before the sun came up that I enjoyed. Knowing that I wanted to go back to school, I figured a good part-time job while I was going to school would be to become a personal trainer. And so that's what I did. Now I want to pause right here in the story and tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the type of person that if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right. And I'm the type of person that likes experiencing things for myself. Also, I have come to realize that both health and fitness are truly important to me. And over the years, I have learned that I have a pretty good BS detector. So when I decided I was going to be a personal trainer, I began scouring every resource I could get my hands on. The internet, books, podcasts, and educational courses, all to find the experts in the fitness field that I should be following and learning from. This was around 2007 to 2009, and at the time, the show The Biggest Loser was just becoming a hit on TV, and the trainer on the show, Jillian Michaels, was becoming a household name. Now, some of the well-educated evidence-based fitness professionals or the muscle-bound meatheads may have just snickered when they heard the name Jillian Michaels, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, just know that this was the initial motivation for the Calorie Conundrum podcast. You see, I didn't really watch too much of the Biggest Loser TV show. Instead, I wanted to know the secrets of the trainers. So I bought her books, I bought her DVDs, and yes, I have done her workouts. Remember, I like to experience things for myself. And ultimately, I found a podcast that Jillian had started all those years ago before podcasts were a big deal like they are today. And I listened to every podcast I could. I was trying to learn anything and everything to be the best personal trainer I could be. I found it valuable to listen to an expert's take on fitness and how she thinks about things. But the part of the podcast I found most valuable would be when she took callers and answered their questions. This was when the idea of the Calorie Conundrum was born. Callers would ask many different questions about fitness and nutrition. Often, though, the questions would be about the caller not being able to lose weight. The call would go something like this: Jillian, I'm working out and I'm eating right, but I can't seem to lose any more weight. And Jillian would say, well, are you counting calories? And more often than not, the response from the caller would be, no. It was actually surprising to me for a listener of the Jillian Michaels podcast to respond no to the question, are you counting calories? If that listener had listened to any other shows, they would know that she asked every person with weight loss struggles the same question. But that is a topic for another podcast. One thing that I will point out, though, is that response of no so often given to the question, are you counting calories? Many times you could sense that the response often came with a feeling of failure, like the caller didn't feel like they were good enough or that they should have known better. You could feel just through the sound of their voice that the person was sitting tall, excited to talk to their favorite fitness personality only moments before, was now slouching with their head down, feeling defeated. And this is how a typical call-in question would go. Like I said before, I listened to all the podcasts. And in all the podcasts, there were 2 or 3 calls that were different. These calls went something like this. Jillian, I'm working out and eating right, but I can't seem to lose any more weight. And Jillian would give her typical response, well, are you counting calories? And in these cases, the caller would respond yes. And with many callers that responded yes, Jillian would say something about making sure that they were accurately tracking calories in and calories out, or point out some other thing the person was doing wrong, and often the caller would agree that they need to count more accurately, or they would admit that they were not being honest with themselves, and would agree to try harder. But the 2 to 3 calls I'm referring to, when Jillian would start on her, well, are you counting accurately questions, the caller would interrupt by saying, Jillian, I'm counting my calories. I'm counting them accurately, and I've been consistent, and it's not working. And Jillian would start asking about other ways the person counted wrong, and the caller would interrupt again and explain they were, in fact, doing everything right. And then, after exhausting every way to blame the caller for not losing weight that she could, Jillian would say in frustration, well, if you're doing this and you're doing that and it's still not working, then you need to go see an endocrinologist. And that is what I call the calorie conundrum. Me being me, I had the simple question. If this issue could happen to one person, how many other people are having similar struggles? Fast forwarding the story to about 2013, 2014, I had recently graduated with a master's in exercise science and had opened my own personal training studio and started working with clients. Because I'm serious about learning and I was still researching and reading and trying to become a better trainer, when I caught wind of a fitness conference that was close to where I lived, I signed up. This conference was smaller in size, but the speakers were pretty well known, especially in the evidence-based community. The evidence-based community is a community of professionals that like to base their ideas on information gleaned from scientific literature. And so I was pretty excited to attend the event. To sum up the event, the speakers shared useful information, but many at some point in their talk used their stage as a speaker to poke fun or discredit other fitness professionals, namely fitness professionals like Jillian Michaels. One speaker basically bashed Jillian his entire talk, and the bashing was met with laughs of appreciation and agreement because everyone knows that Jillian Michaels is not evidence-based, and her methods are dangerous and not based in science. I got the speaker's point, but I also thought to myself, Jillian probably has helped more people lose weight and improve their health with one of her workout DVDs than this speaker will probably help in his entire career. The sad thing about this story is Jillian and the speaker had pretty much the same philosophy, which was calories in, calories out. Listening to that speaker was enough to make me want to do something, and when I got home, I decided to start this podcast. I started contacting people I thought would be good to interview for the podcast, and I started recording calls. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a passion and I was doing what I could with what I had. But the responsibilities of trying to run a fitness studio sidetracked my efforts, and I never posted the interviews in the podcast directories. But ultimately, I truly feel people are suffering from poor information or wrong information, and that the idea of calories in, calories out has done more harm than it has good. I have seen it in the clients that I've worked with, I've seen it with numerous people online, and I've experienced it personally trying to gain weight, and I know firsthand there's more to health and weight loss than eating less and exercising more. Now I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that calories don't matter. I'm just saying that there are a lot of other factors that affect your health and weight loss that you should be aware of. Things like hormones. Everyone's heard of a slow thyroid causing weight gain. Things like food quality and how food is manufactured to make you want to eat more. Things like obesogens. These are substances found in our environment that cause us to be overweight. And of course the problems with calories in, calories out. But there are less talked about things that are affecting your health and weight loss, like your emotions, the placebo effect, addictions, and the microbiome and bugs in your gut. I will be interviewing guests and talking about all of these issues in future podcasts. It has been more than a decade of studying health and fitness, which includes a master's degree in exercise science, over 10 plus certifications in health and fitness, and I feel like I have a unique perspective and ideas about health and weight loss. My 30,000 foot view of health is that everyone is different. Everything truly affects everything, and you have to look at health or weight loss holistically And instead of treating the symptoms or blaming the person, you have to find the root cause of health and weight issues. Hopefully this podcast will help you do just that. If you have any ideas for the podcast or any recommendations for experts that would be good to interview, please visit calorieconundrum.com or find us on social media at CalorieCon or at Calorie Conundrum. I am so excited to launch this podcast. I have so many topics to discuss, so please subscribe, share, and let me know your feedback, and maybe even your struggles with your health and weight loss. The more we get these issues out from behind the shadows of the calories in, calories out paradigm, the sooner we can expand the weight loss conversation to beyond just calories and begin to find solutions. But with that being said, this is Coach Strick saying thanks for listening, and remember, when calories in, calories out doesn't work, that, my friend, is a calorie conundrum.
This podcast, including Coach Strick and guests, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects for the use of any information contained herein. Coach Strick and/or guests may recommend products or services in which they have a direct or indirect financial interest. To find out more, please visit www.calorieconundrum.com.